Hey everyone, welcome to my video for how to make the Harvey Clutch. I've already kind of pre-started some things to make this video a little bit faster. This is going to be the front panel here. I'm going to show you how to do that. Two pieces. I've already top stitched and I've applied my fusible fleece on it. So we're going to go ahead and get started on that piece. So here we have the back panels that are mirrored pieces of the pieces for pieces A and B. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get our flat sides together. And I'm using a vinyl, an upholstery vinyl on one side. And because I'm using vinyl, we're going to clip these. If we puncture them with our pins, it will leave holes in the vinyl and then you won't be able to get those out. So we're going to go ahead and do our seam at a 1/2 inch. And when you're sewing with vinyl, you want to make sure that you're using a longer stitch so it won't perforate the vinyl, and if it gets too much pressure and tug on it, it will perforate it and rip it. Okay, let's go ahead and okay. And then I'm going to top stitch the vinyl down. I'm going to do 1/4 inch. I'm going to do the same to the other side. Oops. Okay. Sorry about the camera. Okay. Now you notice I'm going to be using the same foot throughout the whole video. I don't use any special sort of feet. My camera is really shaky. Okay. Trim our threads. So we get that side done. Okay. Then I'm going to take my fleece, make sure it is a 1/2 inch from the bottom of the panel and centered. And iron that on. And because I'm using an upholstery, here it's a little bit thin, you don't have to use fleece on it, but this is a little bit thinner than your normal vinyl, so I'm going to add the fleece to the back of it. So when you iron, you want to make sure you iron on not this side because it will melt. You want to make sure you iron on this side. I'm going to go ahead and get that ironed down. Okay. There we go. Ta-da! So that panel's done. Now we're going to do the zipper. So here I've got already started the end of one zipper. And here I've already marked where I'm going to cut the zipper ends off. Okay, and we want to make sure our zipper in total length is going to be 7.5 inches. So make sure your zipper is pulled down past, if you're using a longer zipper, past your mark so you don't accidentally cut your zipper pull off. Okay. Okay, I've already got my other zipper piece, zipper tab ready to go. And to get these ready, you just take your piece, and these are 1 by 2 inches, fold it in half, iron it down, then take your ends, fold those towards the middle, and iron down. And there you go. You have your little zipper tab piece. Okay. Then these I'm going to pin on, and we are going to sew along this first fold line here. Okay. Okay, we're going to trim our threads. And then we're going to take our piece, and we're going to fold it around. And you can either pin it or clip it. I like clipping. And then we're going to save the top stitching for the end when we get all our panels together, and we top stitch around the whole zipper. Okay, there's that piece all ready to go. Go ahead and set it aside for just a quick second. So I've already got, let's see, start with the panel pieces for the interior. So we're going to do our front piece here. And you don't have to, you can decide whichever side you want to be the front piece, but for me, I like the panel, the small panel on the left. So I'm going to take this, and I like to do quilting tape. You don't have to do quilting tape. You can use pins or clips to get your zipper down. But another good reason I like to do this if I'm using the vinyl is that this will stick to it without causing any damage to the panel piece itself. Also too, if you have an issue with your zippers when you sew them on, sometimes you get that wavy zipper. This will help prevent waviness. Okay, and then I do it to the other side as well. And this is a 1/4 inch quilting tape. It shouldn't gum up your needle, and it also washes away. Okay. And they come in big rolls. I get them off of Amazon. Then we're going to, I have my zipper on the same size as a small panel, because this is where I'm going to put the strap connector, and I like to have that support when I'm opening the bag. Okay, so we're going to turn this around. And we're going to put this down and have it centered. Okay, and you want, should be about 3/4 of an inch from the edge. Okay, and then we are going to attach the other side. Double check my seam again. Okay, then just match up. And if you don't want to use the quilting tape, or you don't have it, you can mark on your panel, so that way your zipper is even. Okay, and now we're going to stitch the zipper in 1/4 of an inch. Sorry for the shaky camera. And you want to sew from one end of the panel all the way to the other end. Okay. And then when I get down towards the end where the zipper pull is, I like to open it and pull that down. Maybe. Okay. Snip your threads. And then I like to pin the panels together so you can get your other panels on. And if you're using vinyl for your whole piece, then what I would do is just clip your ends, the raw edges together, like I have done on this side. Kind of helps keep the panels down. Okay, and then same thing to the other side of the zipper. I'm going to do my quilting tape. make sure you get close to the edge as possible of your zipper. Okay, and then do it to the other side. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you have a label or a badge or a logo that you want to add to it, I would do that before you sew on your panels together to the zipper. It would make it a little bit easier. So anywhere is fine, wherever you feel is best. I'm just going to line these up. Okay, and press. Okay. And put the interior on. Okay, and now we're going to do our quarter stitch. And then again with the zipper, pull that through. Okay. Okay. And if you're wondering what kind of machine I'm using a vintage Singer. It's a 237 Fashion Mate. Nothing too fancy. But it does wonders for my bag making. Okay, so now I'm going to pin the other side down. We're going to top stitch. Clip this side. And I like to top stitch around the zipper about 1/4 of an inch. Okay. And usually I start on one of the zipper tabs. And then for my needle, I'm also using a size 16 universal. And then I like to meet my thread on the other side as much as possible and go over it again. Okay. Snip our threads. Okay, so there's your top. And your interior. Now, I'm going to work on the strap and the strap connector. And I'm also going to change out my thread to more match those pieces as well. As well as get my parts that I forgot to get. Okay. For this video, I'm going to use rivets or rivet for the strap. Now, there's a few different sizes they come in, and I usually use the extra small rivets, but I brought out both my small and my extra small so you can see the difference. Also helps if I start this off right. Okay, so I'm going to use hot pink for the strap and the strap connector. I'm using the lining or the interior as the same as these two pieces. One of the reasons is because I thought it would be funny to have the strap say this is the worst on the end in true Grumpy Cat fashion. Okay, so I've already prepared the strap. So what I just did is I took my piece and I folded it in half and I ironed it down all the way. And then I took the raw ends, folded those in, ironed those down. And your strap should be a 1/2 inch. And then I marked 1 inch from one side, fold that piece in and iron it down as well. And then you fold those in. You have a nice finished edge. This is the part that's going to be showing on your strap. The other raw end will be underneath when you do your rivet or when you sew it down. So it will not matter if that raw edge is there or not, because you won't be seeing it. So then I like to start from the raw edge and go all the way around and top stitch and come all the way back. Okay. So the strap is done, and I've already gone ahead and marked where I'm going to punch holes for my rivet. So I do 1/4 of an inch from one end, the raw end, and then on the other end, oops, that has the folded over end piece, 1/4 inch, and then 1.5 inches from the end, or 1.25 inches from your other hole. Okay. Okay, and if you want to add a little more support to your rivet, you can use freight track. Provided it's actually coming out of the hole. Okay, so now get my 1/2 inch swivel clasp. I'm going to put it on the end that has the 2 holes. I'm going to take my raw end side and put it on the second hole and then fold this over. I'm going to try and match the holes up. Okay? So for rivets, you want a rivet that's not going to stick too far past your fabric. So here I'm going to use the small rivet. Okay, and you can see how it's just kind of coming up the hole, and no longer, and it would skew the rivet when you go to set it, and it won't be centered. Okay. Trusty little hammer. There you go. There's your strap. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to do our strap connector. Another item that I've already semi-prepared. Strap connector is going to be 1 inch by 3 inches. And here, again, I'm using the quilting tape. And I've already marked the middle. It's kind of hard to see, but I did it in yellow chalk. I'm just going to fold this down on one side and then do the other side. And we're going to top stitch that. Okay. Snip our threads. Take our 1/2 inch D-ring. Place that on. And then I like to sew the edges down. Okay. Then we're going to take our panel. You could do it on either one of these sides, but I'll do it on this side here. And I do it 1 inch down from the top of the fold. Since I'm going to be using vinyl, I'm going to mark it with a pen. And make sure you sew it only to the exterior piece. And then I usually sew it about 3 right underneath the 1/2 inch mark. Just to give it a little extra support, because you're going to be putting a lot of weight on it when you carry it around. Okay, so those are done. Strap is done. Now we're going to sew our panel pieces together. For this part, it's really important that you open up your zipper. That way you're able to turn it right side out. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with a closed, wrong side out bag. Clip or pin your pieces together. Get those panel pieces lined up. And then when you get to the bottom of the interior pieces or your lining, I will pin it, or you can mark it at 5 inches. And that will be your, where you turn the bag right side out, or as some people like to call it, the birthing hole. And on any of my bags, I do a minimum of 5 inches. I've had some that call for 4 inches, and I have sweated trying to turn those things right side out. I like to not sweat when I'm sewing. Okay, so we're going to sew from one end here, and then we're going to sew from this end to this end, this end to this end, all the way around, just not the corner pieces, okay? And we're going to do our 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. Oops, and to match my outside panels, I'm going to change back into my brown thread. And I'm just using regular dual duty thread by Coax and Clark. Nothing too fancy. I haven't had an issue with these threads on my bag making, and I've been making bags for a while now. All right. So I sew the panels down, and I go back and forth on the ends, and then to save on thread and some time, I will just lift it up and go to the next panel side. But still go back and forth, because when you do our corners here, you don't want your ends to unravel. And because I'm using a regular foot, sometimes I find towards the end here, when I get towards the zipper tabs, it's too bulky on this side. So when my foot is, or my needle is still down in my fabric, lift my foot and move my needle over. Right. And then sometimes to secure it a little extra, depending on what kind of fabric I'm doing, I will do some back and forth on that top seam. And when you get to your strap connector, you want to make sure that's nice and flat. You don't want to accidentally sew it folded or get your D-ring caught in it if you decide to pull your strap connector in further. And then again, I like to do a little extra security on it, so I will go back and forth on it once over. Okay. Same thing with the other zipper side. Okay. Now our panel pieces are sewn together. We're going to box our corners. Okay, so you just match up your seams. No, first of all, I forgot. We're going to cut down our seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and the side that you have the strap connector on, I cut around that. So I want that extra support from the fabric. And this will help reduce the bulk on your seams when you turn it inside out, or right side out, I guess. Okay, again, void. Okay. Now we're going to meet our seams together. And we're going to do a 1/2 inch from the edge. And then we're going to trim it down at 1/4 to 1/4. Okay. You can pin if you want. This is just the inside panel piece, so I'm not going to do that for that. And you're going to do that to all of your corners. Okay. And I actually want to get to the exterior panel pieces. I will clip and pin those ones down because I want those box corners to look perfect. Okay, and on this part, if you're going to use heavier material like the vinyl, if you put your hand inside the birth hole, it makes it easier to meet your seams together. Because I'm using that vinyl, I'm going to clip these down. Okay. Okay, one more corner, and then we're going to turn our bag right side out. Okay. And you always want to make sure that your thread is pulled towards the back. Otherwise it could have a chance of getting caught in your stitches and messing up your seam. Okay. All right. So now all of our corners are boxed and trimmed. If you have any extra thread that you forgot somehow, go ahead and get those now. Okay. Now we're going to turn our bag right side out. I like to use a metal chopstick for getting the corners. So usually what I do is I start with one corner, and I kind of pull it out to the outside first. Okay, and then shove the rest of it into that corner. And then this is where that chopstick comes in handy, especially if you don't have tiny hands or your material is stiff. You can take that and poke the corners just to ensure that you have good looking corners. Okay. And now we are going to sew the hole down. And you want to sew as close to the edge as possible. And since I'm using a print on it, I'm just going to use that as my guide. Now I'll clip it. Okay. Okay, trim our threads. And then, as I'm pushing the lining in, I like to try and make sure that the corners are pushed out. Okay, so this is what your zipper tabs are going to look like on the ends. Attach your strap. And there you have it. Thanks for watching. Hope this video has helped you along the way. Thank you.